Hey everyone, so this is going to be kind of the last tutorial in my little Unity mini-series. In this one, I'm going to try to branch off and make it a little more gamey, because in the first two tutorials, I only teach you how to kind of, make the plane, the sphere, how to move around, jump and stuff like that. But in this one, I want to kind of create the basis for what a game could be based off of this project. So the cool thing about Unity is you don't have to like follow any guidelines or anything. You don't have to do this. You can just kind of come up with your own idea and try to execute it by yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be what I'm doing here. The possibilities are kind of endless, if you can get creative enough. But what I'm doing for the purposes of this tutorial is I made a good cube and I made a bad cube. The idea here is if the player hits the good cube just destroys itself, and if the player hits the bad cube, the whole scene resets. The whole game kind of restarts. Essentially, it's kind of like a game over. So you can get creative. I know it's not very fun, but it's just like the bare bones of the game. You can get more creative with this. For example, you can make the plane more narrow, and you can just make the player move by itself. And maybe you have to hit the green ones, avoid the red ones. Have a score for when you hit the green ones go up, something like that. Or you could just do completely something else. You don't even have to have a sphere. You don't have to have cubes. You can just come up with your own game. Um, a lot of complicated games, like things like Assassin's Creed, if you've heard of that, are made in Unity. But anyway, right, I have the good cube and the bad cube. So what I essentially did is I made two scripts, one for the good cube, and in the good cube script, I did on collision enter, which you might recognize because it's similar to on collision stay, but instead of detecting whether it's colliding with something, it detects whether the object that the script is on is colliding with anything. Or yeah, if it's like collide. So that's not what I meant. I meant this detects collisions, and this detects rigid bodies, and this one detects collisions. So yeah, this is checking if it's colliding with anything. So if the object collides with anything, I just made it so that it destroys itself. Transform.game object is its own self, so I made the good cube destroy itself if it collides with anything, which would be the sphere in this case. And then on the bad cube, I basically just made it so that I reload the scene when the sphere collides with the bad cube. And you might be thinking, how do you come up with a scene measured all those scenes? How did you even know that? Well, another cool thing about Unity is that you don't really have to know everything. You just kind of have to know the bare bones and how to do basic stuff. You can look stuff like this up on Google. You don't you don't have to memorize all this specific stuff. Like, you can just look up, how do I reset a scene? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it'll tell you. Um, so yeah. Once you finish the scripts, remember to add them to the good cube. Add the good script, and to the bad cube, add the bad script. And then for scene manager.load scene, there's some weird thing you have to do where you go into file, into build settings, and you have to add the scene. Just click add and have the scene open. Um, yeah, and then you can essentially just run the code at that point. Yeah, so again, I still have the move and I still have my jump. So I'm just gonna go over here. Once I hit the good cube, it should destroy itself. Yep. And when I hit the bad cube, it should reset the scene. Yep. So yeah, that's kind of the end of my little mini series of tutorials I have for Unity. Um, Again, you can get as creative with Unity as you like. I hope this helped some people kind of get into Unity and understand the basics, and so that they can become more advanced and make more advanced games, hopefully.